A tough one for me to get through, just as it will be for Jamie Lowell. I was close to Rick, but not certainly Rick Thompson, but certainly not as close as Jamie was. And for those who haven't heard, which I find it hard to believe at this point, Rick did pass away on Monday. And we'll be talking about his legacy here in the Michigan cannabis community. And Jamie was with him through all that. And of course, this weekend on Friday, there's visitation at the funeral home up near Flint. There'll be lots of ways for everyone in the cannabis community to pay their respects to Rick. Let's talk about his legacy, Jamie. I mean, you and him and a number of other folks really are the folks that created what we have today and the legalization of the cannabis, right?
Well, we jumped in at a certain point. There certainly was a lot of work going on before that, and as Rick would be the first one to say, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and we kind of came in and had our part, and obviously till the end, Rick gave a regular interview with MLive just like 2 weeks ago, and then after the interview mentioned to the journalist Gus Burns, that he was at home in hospice and let him know about it and stuff like that. So, and there's a lot of people who have come on, after us. So we were very, very involved for a long time together and did some good work and worked alongside of a lot of other people who really helped us to move the needle. And he would be the first one not to take all the credit and to make sure that it was known that it has taken, thousands of people over decades to really get things to where they are. But certainly Rick was special in that, and he stood out, and he was one of the motivators, innovators, inspirations for a lot of people to come together and really affect change. So his presence will be sorely missed, and this happens too often. The only positive in somebody such as Zara Abbas or Brad Lemke or Haas Pleward or Danny Fuller or Rick Thompson passes is more motivation and inspiration for those to continue the work. And I've been getting a lot of positive feedback and people letting me know that they continue to be inspired and that, in Rick's name and other people's names who they respect and trust in this movement who may not be with us anymore, they find some solace and some motivation to keep the effort going. And Rick definitely, enough cannot be said for his involvement in all that and the amount of people who he has inspired.
And of course,
and I might ramble on a little bit. I'm a little, obviously this is a little not incredibly stable, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show. So bear with me a little bit on that.
Yeah, no problem. Certainly, he and you did Jazz Cabbage Cafe for, 4 or 5 years, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot what season it is. I took time off. I just haven't been motivated to do it without Rick. But I think we were at season 6 or 7.
Okay.
We've won some awards. We had some good shows. Had some really bad shows, of course, along the way, but many good ones. And I really miss that. And I'm happy I get to go back and look at some of those. Those are recorded. So it's that'll be a pleasure to review some of those things.
And of course, he was on 420 Post Live with me, for I think 2 or 3 years. I can't remember exactly either when we started, but he always did the news. He was always a great moderator that put the guests' feet to the fire because we'd bring in folks that were either pro or con cannabis, and he was there to, have his say. So, I mean, he never held back and always spoke what he thought was the truth, I guess, so.
Right. No question. He's righteous. And people should check out, there's an MLive article that recently came out about Rick, written by Gus Burns. And it's a good overview and will, offer some information about Rick that you may not know or help to bring some stuff up to date as well. I will tell you a story about when he came on to your show. that is interesting. I still get a little chuckle out of it to a degree, but he really appreciated that forum. He wanted a place where he could do the news in peace. And on Jazz Cabbage, he used to kind of do the news, but I couldn't refrain from interjecting and attempting to be funny and having some fun with his segment, and he did not like that at all. And so when you presented this forum where he could do the news and I wasn't going to be there to be a dick about it, he definitely was very happy about that. And I'm
Yeah,
appreciative for that too.
yeah. In fact, it was although I said I wasn't going to go into this, it was in middle June or so when he would come on the show about 15 minutes early, and him and I would kibitz and talk about what's going on and that sort of thing. And that's when he made reference to me about there was something mysterious going on and he was losing weight and he didn't know what it was. And unfortunately, it turned out to be stage 4 colon cancer, which came very fast. I mean, like 3 months. I had no idea it could happen that fast.
So
But
I just want to point out, since you bring this up, and this is, I've brought this up with many people who I've spoken to. Rick didn't like going to see the doctor. He had a kind of a neuroses concerning needles and some other things, and it was not something that he really considered that much because he was so adverse to being in that environment. And it was a serious thing. He really did not want to be around those things. Every time he had to do something that included a needle, it was a big deal, and people had to take extra measures with him, and he avoided it whenever he possibly could. So he didn't make a lot of screening.
I'm sure he never had a colonoscopy, right?
Basic checkups and screenings. He never had a colonoscopy, and he was 57, so he should have had at least 2 or 3. And because now it's about 45 that people get started, and that would have flagged it and probably would have taken care of it. He had a thing called Lynch disease, and it's genetic, and people in his family have it. His sister had cancer 3 times and beat it 3 times. It ironically makes it easier for people to get cancer who have that disease, but it also makes the tumors typically more brittle, and the chemo works on it with a high percentage of success. And had this been caught earlier, he probably would have been a good candidate for the chemo to work really well. It was so advanced. Of course, he's very aware of the oil, and so many people were awesome in offering. I mean, some of the best people in the world who make oil and help out cancer patients and stuff offered to like just completely hook him up, and he was very appreciative of that, but he wasn't in that space. Things were kind of really, really advanced, and that didn't come together for him, but he really appreciated all those offers, and he was aware of all the people who recognized him and who wanted to get some type of thought or well wish or positive vibe or prayer or anything his way, and he picked up on it, and that really this helped this whole process. I mean, we knew the inevitable at some point, but all of the people letting him know how they feel about him was so profoundly awesome and important. And everybody who did that, you really participated in making this whole thing, given the circumstances, just as well as it could be for him. And he was a lot more comfortable, I think, as a result of really knowing how much he was supported and loved out there. And of course, his family is awesome, and they made it really clear to him, and he had that no matter what. But this recognition of all the great stuff he's done was great for me to see also, and I'm happy for him that he got to really realize that.
Yeah, and so for those that want to honor him and his memory, you have several opportunities coming up.
It's on Hill Road in Flint, and there are a visitation or a viewing Friday from 3 to 8, and on Saturday from 10 to 11 there's additional visitation, but the funeral then starts at 11. And then starting at 1 o'clock over in Vehicle City, there's an after sesh on Saturday for Rick. So whichever may work out for someone. Also, many people are choosing to do this in their own way. Grief is something that gets exercised differently by different people under different circumstances. And I know some people don't want to come and are content with dealing with it in other ways, and that's fine too. So
Yeah. And the other thing is he doesn't, or his last wishes were no flowers. He just anything that if you're going to buy flowers, he asks that you donate to the Redemption Foundation, which people may not be aware of what that is. Why don't you explain it, Jamie?
So, one of Rick's really, really great close friends is a guy named Ryan Basor, who is a big part of the history of cannabis in Michigan, and which includes he being prosecuted federally. He was following state law, but he was sent to prison under federal law. And when he came out, he was determined to um, be successful or utilize this new opportunity, for his own benefit. And he called it redemption appropriately. And it's a brand of high quality cannabis at low price. And that's been his niche, and it's worked out really well. And proceeds from that brand goes to the Redemption Foundation. The Redemption Foundation is a charitable organization that helps out many people in many different ways. A lot of people are familiar with Glenn, Great Lakes Expungement Network. For example, the Redemption Foundation pays for all the administrative costs of Glenn. So when somebody donates to Glenn, that money goes directly to an expungement, not to other administrative costs. He had programs, or he has programs in Redemption to help out people get their GED, especially those who might be coming out of prison or something like that. The whole point is to help repair the damage caused by the war on cannabis. And he's helped out prisoners with their commissary accounts while in prison. It makes it easier if you have some access to some funds to buy some better stuff, better food, and just many positive things. The list goes on. Josie Scoggin, very heavily involved in that appropriately. And that is a charitable organization. If people donate to it, all the money goes to very, very good causes and helps to repair the damage caused by the war on drug stuff. And of course, cannabis has been the low-hanging fruit in that whole movement for years, and starting to change a little bit, but we still have issues. And that is a good idea to donate to Redemption. That said, he's a very proud man. I didn't want people worrying about him or focusing on him or things like that. There probably will be some discussions with people in the family and see what kind of comfortability levels they have, and maybe we put together something that's a tribute that maybe raises some funds for the kids or something like that. But I really want to find out from the family what levels of comfortability they have with something like that before we just plan it. Although I know that many people in the community are ready to do something huge for them. And we'll just see how that goes, and there'll be, further announcements. In the meantime, though, we can all get together this weekend, or people in their own way can get through this process and of grieving for Rick and others. I mean, on top of, the list that I gave, every individual has their own, life and their own set of things going on. And that list could be longer, and it doesn't help that it gets piled on, and it happens all in a short period of time. And it's difficult for all of us to get through. So to get together and be supportive of each other and to move forward with these people's memories and be motivated by what they were doing and what they got started, and how we know they would want us to move on. Something we should stop and reflect on and accommodate. And I see a lot of people already starting to do that. So there's positives that will come out of this, but still going to be dealing with this very tough loss for a while.